meet Theo, our new little kid that we're watering and raising into a nerd that hangs out on Wednesdays.
Okay, tell me of this Theo.
Theo is about 8 years old. Maybe, he's going into 3rd grade, so I guess 8, 9 years old, somewhere in there. He comes in, and sits down over here next to the table and just joins into our conversation. Of course, we have to go from, R-rated to PG-rated when he's here. His grandpa brings him in every Wednesday and lets him just sit there for like a half hour visiting us. He talks about Transformers and G.I. Joes and all the nerd stuff going on in the world, and he watches a lot of YouTube to find out what's really happening in the world as far as in nerd culture without going to the dark sides. Yeah. He has tuned in to nerd culture.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. And he's a fun little kid to come hang out up here.
So what kind of, you said he's into G.I. Joes and like that kind of thing. What kind of comics is he reading? Or
he got issue number 1 of, what was it the other day? It had like 6 characters on. I couldn't have named all the characters, and he named them all. It was like an old like 80s comic. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, this is so and so, and this is so and so. I'm like, dude, I'm impressed. So,
that's freaking right.
Yeah, he gets older comics. Mm-hmm. He's not buying anything new right now, but he'll come in. His grandpa let him pick out like one comic a week and maybe a toy. So
that's awesome. Yeah. So next time he's in here, if he's into like that 80s, early 90s like culture, cartoon, superhero stuff, apparently I'm not reading it, but apparently the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book is just we turned them on to the new Kevin Smith He-Man book that's out. Okay. So hopefully he'll get on to that. And look at y'all just raising the next generation.
Hey, you got to water these kids when you see them and let them grow and become the nerds that they're meant to be.
I just turned the hose on them. That's a different type of watering. Get off my lawn. No, dude, that's awesome. And I love that, you guys, I don't get to take part in it anymore because I'm never here on Wednesdays, but it's cool that you have a local comic shop where you guys can come and just sit down and have those kind of conversations. And it would be nice if more parents took advantage of that. Like, bring your kids to check out a bookstore, get something tangible in their hands.
Yep. So he loves him some Castro.
Nice.
Yeah, Mike wasn't here last week and he wanted to know where he was. So,
that's awesome.
And Kevin as well.
It's like the comic book Big Brother program.
Yeah.
Mentoring the next generation. Oh, well, that's basically what y'all did for me. And see, what happened after that is we went on to do 186 episodes of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast, wherein I have been Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
Matt Trogdon.
And I guess I have been Craig Lance?
The whole time.
Oh, okay.
No, it's like, you guys brought me in and sat me down at the table and let me be part of the group. And now look where we're at. So that's great.
What happened.
You know what we should do with this young man, with mom, dad / grandpa's permission, if he does start reading comics, actually like get him in here and talk about like all ages comics or anything that he's reading like that, and just see
that would be pretty great.
Yeah, from like that young person perspective. That'd be really cool.
I will talk to his grandpa next week.
Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be super fun. So
because I think he would love that.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I will also have to write a note on my forearm that says "Don't say bad words."
Yeah, watch your language.
Yeah.
So, real funny story. I used to play a game online called Dungeons and Dragons Online,
mm-hmm.
and we had a group of guys that always played.
They were real creative with that name.
Yeah,
and geniuses who came up with this one.
And we played with the same group all the time, but occasionally you'd pick up a random person in your
mm-hmm.
group. We picked up this kid one time that joined our group, and everybody's like, okay, watch your language. And this guy, you remember
is this
the guy we met
in Chicago? Yeah.
Anyways, he starts singing a song about a wooden horse with a hickory dick almost immediately. It's like, okay, dude.
Yeah.
Guido.
I
kept wanting to say guy, and I'm like, I know that. It's Guido.
Nice. See, this is the kind of quality you get when you have Craig Lance as the shepherd of your child's future.
Yeah, someone will sing a song about a wooden horse with a hickory dip.
But notice it's never you doing it. So
no, it's just people around me.
It's just the people who gravitate to you.
Yeah.
Well, how have your collective weeks been? How's everybody doing?
It was a week. It wasn't bad. It was
about 7 days.
Yeah.
About 7 days long.
Yeah.
Getting there.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was a much longer week than the week before because we had an actual 5 work days in there. So it always messes me up around holidays.
Yeah, this has been one of those weeks that it felt like 3 weeks stuffed into one for me. Like I had like 1,000
week
things
full
going.
Of Mondays.
Yeah, it really was, and just everything just kept hitting the wrong way.
Yeah. I actually had a pretty decent week all week. So
at one point, I texted Craig and I said, "Hey, can you tell me what I'm supposed to be doing for the next 3 days? Because my schedule's fucked." And he was like, "Yes, we're doing this, this, and this." And I'm just like, "Okay, thanks, Dad." Well, did you get any comics read during this week of Mondays? That's the question.
Go ahead, man.
So for my short stack, number 1 is from Dynamite Studios. This is number 3, The Invincible Red Sonja. Mm-hmm. Writers on this are Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor. Art is by Moritat. Colors by Matt Carter. Letters by Dave Sharp. This is just a total throwback to what feels like the 1980s sword and sorcery comic book rush, when it was maybe even going back into the mid 70s. For example, when Conan was the number 1 selling comic for Marvel Comics, it just feels like it's right in that era.
Yeah, steeped in Roy Thomas.
I picked that up. Yeah.
So I reckon it's just a lot of fun, and it's pure sword and sorcery fantasy.
Nice.
It's really easy to read.
It is.
The story's very linear. I mean, it's not a complicated story. It's just fun. So I recommend that one.
Speaking of Red Sonja, I saw Gail Simone tweet a thing this past week. They were putting together a hardcover, almost like an omnibus of her Red Sonja run.
Nice.
So
that's some of the best.
I'm going to pick that up just because it's awesome.
Yeah, some of the best stuff. Also on my short stack is number 3, Justice League Last Ride. Mm-hmm. The writer on this is Chip Zdarsky. The artist is Miguel Mendoza. The colors is Enrica Angelini. That is probably wrong. This is a great story. I guess you'd call this Elseworlds. It's not in current continuity so much. Feels like it happens right after Crisis. And every issue of this I enjoy more than the last. The biggest overall strength in this is the dialogue between the characters. And very specifically the Trinity. The dialogue between the Trinity is amazing. It is so good. So I highly recommend this. This is one of the few DC books I'm reading. I'm not reading much DC at all these days, but I highly recommend this one.
Nice.
And then number 3 on my short stack from Epic Comics. So appropriately named, I should say, Epic Comics.
100%.
Going back to 1987, Epic, known as a New World Company, in case you forgot. This is number 1, Video Jack. I'm sure you all remember this one.
How did this not beat out Conan for the number 1 selling comic?
Well, this is so going into 1987. Conan had been riding high through the 70s and into the 80s. Once we got into the late 80s is really
Video Jack kind of.
Well, and John Buscema came off the title, and the writers that really kept it riding high came off the title. Gotcha. So it was waning, and those talents went elsewhere. So
to Epic Comics and places like that.
Obviously, yes. Corey Bates, creator, plot, script, as well as Keith Giffen, creator, plot, scripts. Pencils as well. Inker is Dave Hunt. So this is a story that is very much of its time. When home entertainment was really taking off, the hi-fi and whatnot. And it's the story of a local man that is It's the story of a local man who is dabbling in witchcraft, but instead of using the Eye of Newt and Tail of Lizard, he is using TVs and VCRs.
VRCA video cable.
Oh, dude, Technomages were a real thing.
Yeah. So the end of the first issue, I know, not to spoil it, it came out in 1987.
It's a good year.
I'm not going to, but you can still, the ending is So his young son and his friend stumble on into his video room, and it's total heaven to them. And by the time the stars align correctly with the satellite dishes, a transformation takes place.
Yeah.
But the question is our protagonist sucked into that world, or is his world changed?
So look, I mean, we joke about it, but this book's kind of a precursor to something like The Matrix.
This is 100% responsible for The Matrix.
1,000%.
If you're a fan of The Matrix and you don't have video jack,
what are you even doing?
you're kidding yourself.
Yeah.
And you're also a poser.
Fucking hipster. Hey, what month did that come out?
Choke.
What month did this come out?
You said-
September of 1987.
It's a month older than I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm
To
assuming
make me feel old, I graduated in 1989.
that's actually surprising. I was also thinking this had played a major part in your conception.
Could have been. But, you know, it was a
Well,
precursor.
you know that they release them 3 months early.
That comic that's John the Baptist to my Jesus is what that is. Yeah. I like the back cover on it though. It's got a
The Mobius?
preview for a Mobius thing.
Yeah.
And we talk about Epic Comics. I was just throw out there obviously laughing, but Epic Comics had some all-time bangers. Like as far as comics go.
Epic Comics is responsible for one of the greatest of all time, one Martial Law.
Yep. And Jim Starlin's Dreadstar.
Yeah.
Was up on that
Don't
shit.
forget Alien Legion.
And that one.
That one, yeah. You had wasn't ElfQuest?
The ElfQuest was picked up. But ElfQuest was an independent book for, that's what got it to be number one.
That's it. Yep. I knew they were attached there somewhere.
Yeah.
But also Mobius. So, Well, what about you, Mr. Craig? What did you read this
Video
week?
Jack number 2?
Yeah. I got caught up on some books this week. So
Nice.
I read Something is Killing the Children, number 16 and 17, by James Tiny Onion, number 4, and Werther Deladera. This book, the first 15 issues tell us this story of Erica, the hunter that goes into a town and saves the town, refuses to kill the people she has to kill to keep the knowledge of monsters going public. So now we're getting her backstory and how she became a hunter for the House of Slaughter, and why she's a black mask and not a white mask, which apparently has some meaning, as we'll learn as we go. So Ascender, number 15 and 16, Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. This book appears to be heading to its conclusion based on what's going on in this. We have Tim 21 back in the mix, and he is super powered now. He has found the knowledge that was forbidden, but that they really wanted him to find. So he is now got the combination of technology and magic, and is going to set mother and sister straight.
See, kind of like in Matt's book, Technology and Magic.
Yeah.
Before you
Both
move
of
on,
those are image books.
before you move on to that one, is Digger still part of that story?
Driller?
Yeah, Driller. That's
Driller
what,
is a killer. Yeah.
Yeah.
He refused to leave when Tim 21 sent everybody else off. He said, "No, I'm tired of running, and Driller is a killer, and Driller's going to stay and help you kill her."
I need to get caught up on that entire like Ascender and Descender, but Driller is pretty much all I know from that.
Driller's
It's
amazing.
Great character.
Yeah.
I love
Driller is a killer.
He is.
And then, did you guys happen to watch the Old Guard show on Netflix?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so
Really good adaptation, I think.
yeah, and so what they're doing now is they're doing Tales Through Time of the Old Guard with a mix of different writers and artists coming in and telling their own stories. Kind of each issue's kind of, I don't want to say anthology, but it's got like 2 or 3 short stories in it. So I read the second one of this, and it's really good. If you enjoyed the Netflix show, read these, because it gives you stories on each of the characters at different points throughout time.
Hey, and if you enjoyed the Netflix show, go check out the actual series.
Absolutely read the series, but then also pick up these Tales Through Time where you get to read the.
I love when they do that. They give you a world, because like Harrow County kind of does the same thing, or they're starting to now, where you're giving you little glimpses
of different parts of the world.
You know, Jeff Lemire's doing that with like his Black Hammer stuff too. Just diving in there.
when you think about old guard, you're talking about people that have lived for millennia.
Right.
So you literally can take them and put them in any part of the world.
Right.
This one, I forget the guy's name, but it had one of the two stories was set in the West, in the Old West, and it had the French guy. Yeah, and they kept calling him an English dandy. And he's like, "Damn it, I'm French." But yeah, so lots of that was the better of the two stories. Kelly Sue DeConnick did a samurai story in this one, which was good, but the second story was much better. And I'm sorry I didn't write down who wrote the second story. It's just like
the Frenchman, was he the gay one in the series? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, he was one of the gay ones in the series. Yeah,
nice. Yeah.
So yeah, they it was funny because he's. They shoot him. They think he's dead, of course. And then he comes back out and he's still missing his eye. And they're like, what the hell's going on? You can imagine these guys in the Old West. And he's like, I told you to leave him alone.
Yeah.
Now you got to pay.
And they probably, I got to pick that up.
Yeah, it's good. They're fun. Each the 2 issues that have come out, 2 or 3 issues, they've all been, every story's been good, some better than others.
Nice. Well, and that's the way these kind of things go, right? So, Matt, will you please note for the record that this is the 3rd week in a row that Craig has spoke about an anthology?
It's almost like someone's full of shit.
Just noting it.
I'm expanding myself.
You are growing.
I'm growing as a comic book reader and a fan. Is that okay?
As long as you take back everything you've ever said about anthologies.
No, can't do that.
Next week,
just pretend.
Next week, he's going to talk about an annual.
Exactly.
I promise you, next week I will not be talking about an annual.
No, we're just giving you shit, buddy. No, I love it. But that's the thing, though. I think the types of anthologies that you historically haven't liked have been the ones that kind of bounce all over the place, and there's no connective theme. But you get books like the one you're reading now, and the Superman Red and Blue, Wolverine Red, White, and Blood, that kind of stuff, where they're all there's a thread through it, and you seem to like those a lot more, which is awesome.
Stop making excuses for him, please.
All right, so I'll drop my short stack now. Now that we're through.
Did you hear me rolling my eyes at Matt?
I did. That was that rattling. I'm gonna put in a sound bite that's just rattling. So a series that I have been thoroughly just kind of enthralled with wrapped up this past couple of weeks. I'm not sure exactly when it came out. But the book is from Image Comics, and it's called Karmen. I think we spoke about the first issue, but I really have enjoyed it all through. And it's a reprint, so this was, I think, published in either Italy or in France originally, where Guillaume March is from. But they brought it over, translated it, and adapted it. The story wrapped up really well. It had a surprise twist that I'm not going to get too much into it. But the through line of this whole story is this young woman committed suicide to an extent. She's in that area where she's technically her body is hanging on between life and death, and so she's floating around with this character named Karmen, who is literally, he's kind of like a Grim Reaper, right? But
didn't we talk about the first issue?
I think so. It was a roundtable book, yeah. But throughout this entire series, Karmen is number one taking the main character around and kind of not Ghost of Christmas Past, but a little bit. It was hey, trying to talk some sense into her, showing her that here's everything that was happening around you that you were missing, that you were sad about. That it was depressing you that you were missing these things because you didn't have them in your life, but you didn't take the steps to connect those dots. At the same time, Karmen is literally, like I said, she's a kind of a Grim Reaper, but she's part of a, essentially the afterlife.
Karmen or the other one?
Yeah,
Karmen the...
No, Karmen's not the main character. Karmen is the ghost.
Okay.
Who is this silhouette of a pink-haired chick, but her face is drawn regularly, but she's a skeleton all throughout. But essentially, the way that the afterlife works, there is almost a corporate hierarchy to these things. There's people whose literally their job is to fetch souls, and so she's breaking the rules.
I feel like it's very much like Beetlejuice.
A little bit.
If you commit suicide, you have to work in public.
Right.
You have to deal with the public as a public servant for all of eternity.
A little bit, actually, kind of. They do use some of that. But what I like about this book the most is it's a book that makes you think. The penultimate issue, number 4, was he wrote about some opinions on suicide, so to speak, that I don't share. And I don't know that they're his opinions as much as he was making them work for the story, but I think it is the way that a lot of people think about suicide as far as being a selfish aspect and, not understanding.
Cringe.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. But one of the characters is expressing that. And to drive home kind of a point. And as I was reading, I'm like, I don't think of it that way. Like, I think there's more of a mental
think
illness.
We have to be very careful as consumers to not, especially when you're talking about whether it's music or stories, to say that what a character's journey in that story is the perception of the creator of that story.
Right. 100%.
That is the character's perception.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And it sometimes we combine the two, and we got to be really careful to keep that separate.
Right. Yeah, and I think, especially in the 5th issue, Guillaume Marx really does that. And what he shows you is that, no, through this story, we're having a robust conversation about the perceptions and the reality of people who experience suicidal ideation and the families around them that it affects. That's what the 5th issue drives home, and I thought that was really, really well done, really poignant, too.
Nice.
But then, because, that was real serious, you got to follow it up with a little bit of ridiculous, right?
Is it Video Jack number 2?
It's not. It
No,
should be.
fail.
It should be. We got to coordinate this next time. Another series that I've really...
Well, I'll get to some ridiculous stuff later.
You got more to come, huh? Post-Americana number 6. For those of you who are not reading this, you should be. Steve Scrochy, Dave Stewart, and Phonographics are the creative team on that. Again, this is another book that I think we did the first issue as a roundtable that I kind of fell in love with it, and it took a weird and quirky turn. As these people have been expelled from like this underground survival bunker where like a new America was set up in the nuclear wasteland, they realized that not everybody above the surface passed away or was destroyed. Somewhere in the remnants of what used to be Hollywood, a person has kept basically an animatronics lab going.
Was it Bill Murray?
No, but it should have been. That would have been a funny tie-in. No, but essentially, so as part of this animatronics lab, all of these like childhood creatures are still functioning and borderline sentient. Like there's an egg and there's a big pink elephant named Mr. Floppy Bottoms. that just adds to the ridiculousness, and they are all they help this main character jump in and essentially push back against what would be an animatronics warlord. So, there's a bad superhero and a werewolf that also try to kill them. But no, dude, if you're not reading this, it's post-apocalyptic. It is ridiculous to beyond all understanding. And I absolutely adore seeing it. Plus, it's Steve Scrochy on art, right? Like, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And since Craig brought up Mr. Tiny Onion, last but certainly not least on my short stack, from James Tynan IV, Alvaro Martinez Bueno, and the brilliant colorist that is Jordi Belair, comes the second issue of The Nice House on the Lake. Also a third book that I think that we did as a roundtable. So I didn't even plan on doing that, but I think it just kind of happened. This book was fun. I will say that not a lot happened in the second issue, other than these characters exploring this house that they have been brought to in order to survive the apocalypse by somebody that they all have a thread of connective tissue in. Other than the characters finding a room full of like high-tech weaponry, it kind of felt like a filler issue, which was weird because it's the second issue. But it is gorgeously drawn. Like Alvaro, like I really hope that Bueno and Belair work together in the future, because the two of them as a visual artistic team is stunning. Like they just knock it out of the park in this. So really, really liked it. So
nice.
Short stacks all around.
Somehow I did not stay on that book, and I don't know how it happened. I thought I was signed up for it. No, I'll pull it off the wall.
Okay.
I'm sure they've got extras.
I'll give you mine.
I appreciate that.
I'm a giver. It's what I do. So we got
together. I heard
together.
that about you.
Bump. That's not a conversation we need to have this morning. So we all got together this week, as we always are want to do in order to get ready for the show, and we decided that we would select a random book off the wall. That's a relatively new story.
Matt did all the selecting this week.
Oh, was this okay? So we're gonna put a mark in that column.
I mean, not that it was bad. It was just pointing that out. He selected it.
Nice. Well, thank you
Oh,
that,
you're quite welcome.
I'm gonna thank you.
Please, I'm no hero.
I'm gonna thank you profusely later on. No, but we got together and we decided to read Beyond the Breach. It's the new book from Aftershock Comics, written by Ed Brisson, drawn by Damian Couceiro, I think is how you pronounce his name. Patricio, Delpeche, and Hassan Otsmane-Elhaou is the letterist on that book. Before we dive too deep into it, because we're gonna, we just want to give you a friendly little spoiler warning. So if you haven't read the book and it's on your list of things to read, maybe you picked it up or you know it's in your comic box at your local shop, hit the pause button, wait, and don't let this ruin your reading experience. We don't want that to happen for anybody. Now, what did you guys feel about this book? How did it treat you?
I mean, it wasn't really for me. The nature of the story is just not for me. I like the creative team a lot. Mm-hmm. I've read specifically, I'm not familiar with anybody really on here but Ed Brisson. I've read a lot of his stuff and really liked it. Things I did like about the book very much is it got right to it, man. It got right to it. Oh yeah,
it's in media res. Like it drops you right in.
Yeah.
So I, like Matt, did not think this was a book for me until I got to the last page. And then I was like, okay, I'm good with this now. So, and I won't spoil that till we get into talking about it. But I thought, oh, this is following a lot of tropes that these kind of stories follow.
Yeah.
But then that last page happened. And I thought, oh, well, they just broke the tropes. So I'm good with this now. So
I feel like conceptually it could have been a story for me. I just don't think it was executed well. I felt like this was kind of just okay, I've got to do something for Aftershock. Let me phone this in real quick. I didn't care for it.
See, I thought conceptually it was fine.
I didn't think it was poorly executed.
I
mean, it's not, this particular type of.
It's the genre.
Horror genre. I'm not big on a horror altogether. And, psychological horror is usually my game. But this kind of thing, I don't know. It's just not for me. But I've got no knock on the execution of the book.
Yeah, like I said, that's just mine. I just didn't feel like it was well done. Just not my cuppa when it comes to how it's done. Now, I will say, as far as the pitch goes, on the last page, I should say right after the quote unquote to be continued story. The pitch for the story says that the breach has hit California. Thousands of interdimensional creatures now trapped in our world have begun to wreak havoc, leaving a small trail of bodies, not a small trail, up and down the coast. Vanessa is fighting to save those in her care when she encounters a strange man and his traveling companion. That sounds awesome. I wish I had read that before I read the story.
Sounds like The Mist.
Yeah, because none of that I could have told you was happening after the story. But
I mean, that's kind of what happened in last week's book for me. Remember that it was like the end. I was like, oh yeah, if I had read that, known that this was what the book was about, it would have changed it for me.
Yeah, and like I said, it's all personal taste and I think personal perception, but it just, yeah. So I mean, but what is the story? So really, the story starts off on a road somewhere in the middle of either right outside San Francisco, I think, California highway, in the middle of the redwoods, and you have a young woman who is, I'll say young woman. She's probably, what do you think, mid-30s, late 20s, and she's had a bad time of it. She's not a happy camper. Her name is Vanessa, and Vanessa is at the post-mortem part of a relationship. Where she has found out that her fiance and her sister were knocking boots. They were banging it out, which is not something that you want in any scenario. But specifically, just adding salt to an open wound. It was while she was taking care of her mother, who was dying of cancer in a hospital. Sister's mother. Yeah, you would think so.
This woman surrounds herself with some awful people.
Yeah, no joke.
I mean, this is like, oh my god.
But because revenge, she stole, and this is something I would not advocate for people to do. She stole her ex-fiance's credit card and paid for herself a whirlwind trip to the Pacific Northwest, I should say. She's going to be hanging out, Northern California, going to Portland, just taking a little tour at the expense of the people who really fucked her over.
But what else did she do with the credit card?
Oh, a lot. Why don't you, what else did she do, Craig?
She bought a bunch of porn magazines under his name and had them shipped to his office.
Yeah. Explain that to your boss that already hates you. But anyway, while she's driving down this highway and she's really just wallowing in the shit sandwich that life gave her, something happens. Out of nowhere, like just the universe explodes around her. and her car just trashes itself. Nothing ran out in front of her. We don't know what happened. But when she comes to, she's surrounded by just pure carnage, and her car is not the only wreckage that's laying around. As she starts to get her bearings around her, she realizes just how I guess in how much danger she's actually in. There are these creatures that come out of nowhere. They look like I don't really know what they look like. They're weird, almost like a caterpillar on acid with a death wish, a murder caterpillar, if you will. And they are eating the people around her, and they're snatching folks out of cars.
There's no opium inside.
Yeah, there's like weird floating brains with like gaping maws full of teeth and like tentacles like a jellyfish. It's crazy, and these are the interdimensional creatures prefaced by the thing at the end. Also, there's these really cute little, totally almost like cat-like creatures, but they appear to be sentient. They have little sticks. And they're fighting off the bugs too, so they're not all bad. They don't seem to be all bad, at least. They're like Ewoks, but somehow weirder. I don't know. And so as she's getting her bearings, she sees this man being pulled out of his car, and there's a kid in the back seat, and he's screaming, like this is not good. Like Daddy's getting eaten, and this kid is freaking out. So she's like, of course this is going to happen, but I'm not a terrible person, so I should probably go help. She does. She goes over there, and she can't do anything for Dad, but she snatches the kid up and takes him to safety. They go hide in a bedroom or a bathroom, like, I don't know, a public stall.
Restroom.
Yeah, which is weird because you don't see those that often anymore. It's interesting.
Well, I think she's in a park.
Yeah,
Redwood Forest.
Is this like a... Okay, yeah. So this is like a national park kind of situation.
Yeah.
And so they're hiding in
the
there.
giant redwoods.
Well, see, I knew that, but I thought that was just like a main highway that she was just driving through. I didn't know that there was like actually a national park, but that's on me. I need to get out to California more. just
as a side note.
Where else do you need to go, Dave?
I feel like I'm missing the context because I haven't explored the redwood forest.
Also, I need more vegetables.
No, I'm good on that. I'm good on the veggies. Hey, look, me and the fiber are friends now.
Oh,
yeah, I've adopted the inner.
Thank God we solved that problem.
Yeah,
on the air,
just clearing it out. It's great. But no, while she's in there in the bathroom, she's trying to comfort this kid whose name is.
It doesn't matter.
Oh no, it does.
Dougie.
It's Dougie.
Yeah.
This child.
I called him Dougie for like the first 4 or 5 times I read, and I'm like, wait, no, it's Dougie.
This child who appears to be old enough to be sentient willingly calls himself Dougie.
Old enough to be sentient?
Yeah,
what age does that happen for children?
I don't know, but it should have already happened for this kid. His name is Doug. Like you slap your parents. Like no one whose name is Dougie is going to get mad at an alien plant monster ate their father.
Interesting interpretation.
I'm just like, Dougie, really? But no, so she's in there comforting Dougie, and Dougie doesn't understand that his parents are gone. Like, he doesn't get what's happening.
I think Dougie's about 6.
Well, and he's having a very traumatic day, right? Like I mean, to be fair, it's just not working out for him. But she's trying to find that balance between comforting the kid and also getting him to understand reality, and also not getting her killed, that's a hard triad of things to like focus on. But as they're hiding in this bathroom stall, they hear this voice, and it's Dougie hears it, and it's Dougie's dad, and it's saying, "Hey, come out here, Dougie. I need, it's safe now." But Vanessa also hears it, and it's the voice of her sister, who she hates. And Dougie doesn't realize that this is bad. Like, this is not actually Dad. So he rolls out, and there's this giant creature that looks like a mix between something Trad Moore would draw and a grotesque pit bull that is just waiting on him and snatches him up, and away goes Dougie.
Which was my favorite part of the book.
Yeah, me too. Oh. Maybe we'll never have to
things
hear
you shouldn't say out loud.
We'll never have to hear Dougie's name again.
No, so I'm only saying that because up to that point, like I said, it was very kind of the trope I thought it was going to be was, oh, she's rescued a kid, now she's got to take this kid in and protect this kid, and it's going to be the road with monsters. And,
right.
No, the kid got eaten, so now we'll find out what Vanessa gets to do in book 2. Well, and who she gets killed in that issue.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. We don't know if Dougie's gone for good. Maybe, like, it seems weird to me to introduce a character like that quick. I don't know. So,
oh, it doesn't seem weird to me.
Maybe it's going to have
that. That's not the weirdest thing of the
Oh,
story.
not at all. No,
let's clarify.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah, I really like the art in this book. As Matt said, I'm not real familiar with any of these people other than Ed Brisson. But I enjoyed the art. I enjoyed the layouts in the book. I thought the book, unlike Caleb, I thought it was very well executed.
I did too. Yeah.
I thought conceptually it was a good book. I just, it's tropes that we've seen so many times in comics that it was like, yeah. But then, hey, the kid died. Maybe it will take a different turn.
Oh, gosh, that's hilarious.
I mean, even Kirkman waits like 10 or 12 issues in before he kills the kid.
Well, that's one of the things I thought was interesting about this is how very quickly it drops you into. It's like
the pacing's fast in this story.
Like, boom, you're dropped in it, and all will be explained later. Is the way it feels.
Yeah. If there's even an explanation,
if there is one, I really appreciated that approach to it.
Well, the creatures are pretty horrific in this. You said Trad Moore. It made me think of Kyle Strahm.
Kyle Strahm, yeah, I thought of him too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of. I thought the designs were good. I thought the colors in the book were good. There's a lot to like about this book, especially if you're into that sort of horror. It had very much a Mist kind of feel to me, without the mist, but just being in this world where you have these extra-dimensional characters or creatures that are attacking people for no known reason other than all of a sudden they're there.
Yeah.
So...
Well, and I did like the aspect of the fact that like the little cat creatures are not like it's not all of these things are trying to murder everybody. They really are.
That's unique too, because usually all the monsters that come in are
everything's
not necessarily evil. They're just doing their natural thing, which is
eat people.
Everything's a threat, and in this case, you don't have that. So I did think that was a cool thing. I just like I said,
there's a pretty cool moment when the cat creature thing finds the restroom for the first time and flushes himself in the toilet.
And gives himself a swirly. It was great. That part was that actually like I audibly laughed out loud. I dig Damian Couceiro's art as well. Kind of matches some of what I've seen come from Aftershock comics. Like it's very much in that vein.
You brought up Aftershock, and I want to say something here real quick. Aftershock, when they started like gangbusters. I was reading everything they put out because it was good. Then they kind of slowed down for about a year. As far as what they were putting out wasn't quite the same level.
Right.
They seem to really be picking that back up. And if you notice, they're going after the big name writers and creators again. So, I'm glad to see them putting forth the effort to up their ante once again.
Well, I'm not going to lie. They were one of the publishers that I was worried that weren't going to make it through COVID. Them and I think AWA, who just started right
AWA
when COVID
started. Oh my god!
And they started. Bless their hearts, they started with a Contagion story.
Yeah, Resistance. Yeah, the first Straczynski book in 10 years, and it's a Contagion story.
It just didn't work out. But I am glad to see that those companies have lasted. I'm there are a few companies that didn't make it through the pandemic, and that's unfortunate.
Well, I mean, it's just Aftershock is one of those. They're a smaller company. I would love to see them succeed because, like I said, when they started, it was you almost wanted to know where they had the money to get these creators in there from, who was backing it.
I mean, they like Garth Ennis, Marjorie Liu, who wrote the Animal Story. About the talking dog. Anyway, non sequiturs, but
so many great stories that came out at the beginning. Animosity is the story you're thinking of, but there were so many good ones at the beginning, and then they took a lull, and now they seem to be back on the upside again. So I'm happy for them for that.
Now I will say, just because I believe in keeping things fitty. I talked about how a lot of the book didn't work for me. The sequences where they're in the bathroom, where right when they get in, are some incredible storytelling, like some incredible sequential panels. Damian Couceiro did a really great job of laying that out as far as storytelling goes. That to me was some of the most cohesive. What was the most cohesive part of this book, and flat out, there's a page where the kid's like accepting reality. Kind of, and she reached down. She's like, okay, maybe your parents are just hiding like we are, and the kid's crying. Like, y'all know how I love like really poignant, quiet pages. Like that's the art I buy. Like the page of art I have of Murder Falcon is that scene from Murder Falcon where the girlfriend is leaving right after basically the guy breaks up with her because he's got cancer and he doesn't want to be with her when he dies. He doesn't want to hurt her like that. Like that's the page I own from that. I would own this page. Like I think that's a very quiet moment. That's a very poignant storytelling and very strong emotional pulls.
What I heard from Caleb and all of that is he doesn't like fast-paced comics.
I do like fast-paced comics. I just didn't particularly like this one as much, but that's fair. I'm like that's fine.
I'm messing with you, Caleb.
You know what I did think was cool? The back matter, the ephemera that comes with this book, where they put in basically her itinerary for this vacation she's going to get that she's going on. One of the coolest things, and it just kind of a personal connection, she's going to hit up Amoeba Music while she's in San Francisco. Nice. That's the store that our buddy Ray works at. So I hit him up right after I read this. No. I don't know if you know him or not. He's part of the EOC.
I was going to say, I thought Ray Wagner lived in L.A.
No, if you see him online, he's Onomar.
I do know.
Yeah, that's who he is. So I saw that. I hit him up. And was like, hey, look, you guys got a shout out. And he was like, oh, dude, that's dope. So he's going to go out and check this out.
Did it say she was going to the Redwood National Forest?
She's going to hit Highway 101 and prepare your eyeballs for redwoods and the Pacific Ocean. That's what she says. So, but she's going to hit up. She's doing like a Goonies tour.
I took Stephanie out there for our honeymoon, and we drove up 101, which is, or Highway 1.
Yeah,
it's the one it's a Pacific Coast highway. We happened to hit that at night, so she missed all of the scenery.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Unfortunate timing.
One of my.
She didn't want me to stop though. I'm like, you want me to? We can do this tomorrow. We can get a no. Let's just keep going. Okay.
One of my bucket list things is to do Highway 1 on a Harley. So I want to start at the South California and do the coastline all the way up into Oregon. That's a dream of mine.
Well, what happened was we were supposed to be spending the night in L.A., but L.A. was a shithole, so the part we were in, so we decided not to spend the night. Not that all of L.A. is a shithole. Don't hate me if you're a Los Angeles listener.
He says as he wears a San Diego shirt.
I mean, there's no doubt that San Diego is a better city than Los Angeles. But
oof, we're going to get hate mail.
That is Craig's take, not the opinion of the official opinion of the podcast.
Speak for all of us.
I need to get back there, dude. That area is so gorgeous. So, well, all right. So I'm not staying on this book just because it didn't like. It's one of those things like
if they're going to kill off kids every issue, I'm staying on it.
And there you go. Are we sure that we want Craig around the 8-year-old that's now?
Oh man! What a way this ties back to the opener of the
show. What about you, Matt? Is you staying on it?
No, I don't think so. It's like I said, executed fine. It looked great. It read easy, but it's just a genre that I don't dig on.
Okay. Yeah, so out of the three of us, I'm probably more inclined to read horror than the two of you. Not that Caleb reads some horror. Don't get me wrong, but out of the three of us, I'm more inclined to that path. I'm going to stay on it for a little while and see where it goes.
Nice. Well, keep me updated.
I will.
There was enough in here that I'm curious, but it just doesn't. Like, there's only so many in comics I can read in a day. And this didn't do enough to bump anything else.
I mean, that's fair. So. I mean, we all have to make decisions based on what we're currently reading and what's coming out. You don't have room to just add. Sometimes stuff has to fall off to add other stuff. So.
Right. Well, all right. Well, I would like to know about a book that maybe one of you read that I haven't read this week. So who wants to tell me about a comic first?
I'll go first.
Nice.
So you guys know my love for Facsimile edition books.
I do.
Yes. So within the past couple of weeks, Werewolf by Night 32 came out. Mm-hmm. You guys know what this is famous for?
I do, because I actually have this.
What is it?
It's the first appearance of Moon Knight.
Correct, but more importantly, it's the first appearance of Frenchie.
Oh,
snap!
No, it's first appearance of Frenchie and Moon Knight, and also gives the origin of Moon Knight.
Nice.
So this is it? How do you say Doug Minch's name? Is it Munch?
I think it's Munch.
Okay, Doug Munch. Don wrote it. Art by Don and Howie Perlin. Colors by Phil Raichi, I think is how you say his name. Letters by Ray Holloway. So this book opens with a fight already underway between Werewolf by Night and Moon Knight. And Moon Knight's pretty much kicking Werewolf by Night's ass. I mean,
only his hand?
Well, his hand is broken
Interesting
in this
strategy.
scene. So you may be asking yourself right now, but why are they fighting? Why is Moon Knight there? Well, don't worry yourself, because we get a flashback where we go back to the day before. And we find out that on the previous night, when Jack Russell, who is Werewolf by Night, turned into the werewolf, he attacked an innocent, and his best friend jumped in to save him. His best friend being Buck Cohen, jumped in to save the innocent. Well, he ended up mauling his best friend and putting him in the hospital. So the next day when he returns home, he finds this out. He goes to the hospital to check on Buck. His sister won't let him in because Buck's really mangled. And so he eventually goes home. When he gets home that evening, it's about time for him to turn. And who's at his house? None other than Moon Knight. Well, now you're asking, well, why is Moon Knight there to fight him? Don't worry, we get a flashback within a flashback.
What?
Twist. So now we get Moon Knight's origin story, where Mark Spector is sitting in front of a council and they offer him $10,000 to wear this funny costume and go by the name Moon Knight that he hates. By the way, he says it's a stupid name in this book. and go hunt this werewolf. Well, he doesn't believe in werewolves, but hey, $10,000's $10,000. Right. So off he goes. And so then we're now caught back up. They continue to fight. Werewolf by Night does his thing, and they fight more evenly this go round, but eventually Moon Knight does beat him because Werewolf by Night broke his hand when he was at the hospital. So he's fighting with one hand tied behind his back, almost literally.
Right.
So he knocks out Werewolf and drags him to a helicopter that is being flown by none other than Frenchie, and has Jack Russell's sister in it because, Frenchie kidnapped her.
Right.
Because why not?
Yeah.
So, so that's pretty much that. And if you want to know what happens in the next episode and what happens to Werewolf by Night once he's been captured and now is being taken to this council, you'll have to read issue number 33. And I'm sure there will be at least 2 flashbacks in that book.
So they actually sell an omnibus of Werewolf by Night that I keep meaning to pick up because because of this. That was a really good series, and it's one of those weird things that now, unless people are tied into some of the history of Marvel, not a lot of people know who Jack Russell is. Yeah. Like he's not. But now you have a character like Moon Knight, who, like this book, number 32, is one of the comics. As far as price goes, it has probably risen in price.
It's going to continue to rise as the show's coming out.
Well, what I was going to say, as far as how much it's inflated, it's either. The only other book that contends with how quickly the price rose on this,
because it's got Frenchie in it,
is but it's Hulk 181. So as far as price goes, I was reading I don't know if it was from the Comics Beat or it was one of those people that use a lot of spreadsheets and does a lot of comparative analysis, and they were looking at how these 2 books are as far as the most valuable and exploding in value. In a period
Hulk
of time.
180 is always going to go up. I mean, it's going to continue forever. Yeah. Moon Knight is certainly getting a big push right now because of the television show. Marvel's pushing the character, and he just took out all the Avengers because, reasons. And, he's getting a big push. So, people are more interested in this character. Our buddy Jesse that works at the comic book store absolutely loves Moon Knight. It was very interesting in this book that there was no hint of Mark Spector's insanity in this book. There is, some hints that he did, he got kicked out of the military for almost beating his lieutenant to death. There's some things like that when they give his backstory, but there's no real hint to a psychosis other than he's just a very violent man.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, there's no mention to Honshu or the whole Egyptian
there's
part of
nothing like that. So, he's given this costume.
Right. Completely different origin.
And like I said, he introduces himself to Jack Russell, wwho hasn't turned into the werewolf yet. He's like, yeah, I'm Moon Knight. That's what they told me to tell you, but it's a pretty stupid name.
Yeah. And what I love about this, and different different interviews and stuff that Doug Munch has given over the years, he conceptualized Moon Knight's costume as black. Like it's supposed to be black leather, but it's just white or silver because it's always in the light of the moon.
So the thing about it is that the cover of this particular book actually says, "Can a werewolf fight, even survive fighting somebody whose suit is made of silver?"
Interesting. Okay.
So maybe that was his original concept, but at least for this issue, they had and everything he fought him with, like he hits him with his moon batarang things, and they are made of silver. So everything he does has silver in it while he's fighting the werewolf. So, of course, that was to fight the one werewolf. That was before he became a superhero.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was interesting. Now, I know what you really want to know. What was the best ad in this book?
Oh, yes, that was on my list of questions.
Yeah, it's the Evil Knievel towels that we're selling for $5 a piece. I'm really honestly thinking about sending $5 to the address that's on there with a photocopy of that certificate to see if I get a towel. Because somewhere there's an entire warehouse full of these towels.
Evil Knievel, like beach towels?
Yeah, for $5.
Wow.
Do they actually? So what do they look like? Are they just red, white, and blue with stars, or do they have?
No,
a picture of
it's
him?
got his face on it.
Oh, excellent!
Nice.
Yeah. Yes, it's almost like a poster of Evil Knievel just imprinted on a towel, as happened quite often back in the 70s.
Wow.
So the second best ad was Slim Jim, and the only reason why it didn't beat Evil Knievel is because they did not have a pro wrestler.
I was going to say,
ad.
Yeah, it was before.
Yeah, it was before
Macho Man.
Yeah, Macho Man became their spokesperson. So
I mean, but that really did sell a whole lot of Slim Jims. Like having Randy Savage.
Put him in orbit.
I purposely went to the gas station a lot to get Slim Jims because of Randy Savage.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah,
No doubt about it.
They advertised, all the time before that, but it was, it was just kind of a thing.
Yeah,
it was kind of the cheap knockoff of
meat sticks,
beef sticks, But now we got Randy Savage in there. Yeah,
I'm surprised to learn as an adult that it was not Slim Jims that was making Randy Savage the way he was.
Indeed not.
Indeed, it was not. Yeah,
neither. Yeah, nor was it drugs. He was he was an all natural. Yeah, came from the heart. So makes him all the more valuable to our culture.
Now, did he ever admit to doing like steroids or anything like that, as far as that kind of thing goes, or was that not?
They're professional.
I feel
wrestlers.
like all of them did that, but I never know about that.
I mean, I don't remember him ever actually coming out and talking about it, but it seems pretty obvious.
Right.
That, you watched it. You watched if you follow his career. Yeah, it seems pretty obvious that he was, but that was just part of the scene back then.
Like all the baseball players in the 90s, they never admitted it.
Yeah, football players, everybody that was doing any kind of sports was doing steroids.
Your arm circumference doubled in a month, bro.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Normal people's foreheads don't slope like that. What's up with you? No, so, the Evil Knievel towel was definitely the best ad in this book.
I'm picturing grown men wrapped in an Evil Knievel towel walking across the beach.
Oh, what a scene! Huh?
What a scene that would be.
That's something that we have in common. I also picture such things.
Well, I'm thinking like dad bod type, walking with their family.
So is Caleb.
Yeah. You know my type.
Yeah.
So Evil Knievel was marketed to everybody.
Right.
I mean, do you guys remember the Evil Knievel craze where you
yes.
you probably
I was
you were
but
born afterward, like maybe when his son was Robbie was doing stuff. It was pretty insane when he would do something. It was a big
national event.
There was television. I mean, people. It was a Saturday night wide world of sports event when Evil Knievel did a stunt.
I love, you can go on YouTube, because YouTube has everything, and watch some of those old recordings of him doing what he was doing.
So, it's wild.
One of the questions that's going to come out of, you're talking about Moon Knight becoming more of a pop culture thing in the television. Is it a series or?
It's a series.
Yeah. It's going to be what kind of royalties? That's going to be, I can see that causing another big conversation that we always have in comics. Kind of like the Brubaker Captain America conversation. as far as what Marvel, if they're throwing like the family a bone.
I mean, Marvel really legally, as far as I know, isn't obligated to do any of it. But they probably should.
Yeah. Oh, I always think they should. The United States is the only country that doesn't do moral rights, so it's weird. But that's also why we're the ones who make as many IPs as we do. Well, all right, nice. I'm glad you picked that up. I need to flip through it. I've got it at home. What did you read this week?
So the book I'm going to talk about is actually from Image Comics, Moonshine number 26.
Wait, is this Werewolf Week and no one told me?
It is Werewolf Week. Where have you been?
Your book better be Werewolf. If not, you better go find one.
Yeah.
Changing it right now.
Bring your game week, son. So this is by Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Risso. I've talked about this series a few times in my short stack. To review, this is a story set back in the Roaring '20s during Prohibition. And the series starts with some mobsters, some Italian mobsters specifically, going to the Appalachians to look for a source for illegal liquor, of which to sell in their gangster territory. So they go to the Appalachians, find the source of the best moonshine available, and hire this family to produce said bootleg liquor. And as the story progresses, like I said, this is issue number 26. As you work your way through the story arc, the family that lives in the Appalachians and is creating this liquor is also a family of werewolves. Causes some unforeseen problems, that being the case.
They're less likely to be intimidated by mobsters.
They're
supernatural.
But boy, do the mobsters try, and to some degree are successful. Well, one of the mobsters kind of, so to speak, goes native, so to speak, in a certain degree. But the story progresses, it becomes very much a historical fiction book because there are real life historical characters in this book. Events such as, again, back in this era, late in the Roaring '20s, there was a serial killer operating in Cleveland, Ohio, became known as the Torso Murders. The torsos of murdered men were showing up all over Cleveland. It was never solved. They never found out who was doing this. So as part of the story, the werewolves were doing it.
Right?
Maybe it's kind of the way it's phrased. It's presented. Well, in this issue, the reason I'm talking about that is in this issue, it's just I have to talk about this. It's too good. Well, at this point in the story, one of the mobsters has turned werewolf. Mm-hmm. He's now back in New York City. He's trying to get back in the good graces with the mob that he worked for. Meanwhile,
why wouldn't they want a werewolf working for him?
I'm sorry?
Why wouldn't they want a werewolf working for him?
Nobody. It's not open knowledge. Wasn't in the local paper that he's a werewolf. So it's not, they don't know he's a werewolf. Mutilated bodies are showing up all over this area. So the local police, okay, here's this serial killer, came in from Cleveland maybe. There's, same kind of murders are happening here. Touches on the fact that Elliot Ness was put in charge of the Torso murders based on his success from the Untouchables.
Did that really happen? Was he
absolutely.
put in charge of it?
Yeah, absolutely. He was given undue credit for the success.
Oh, for sure.
So based on that undue credit, taking credit for other people's work, he was put in charge of this Torso murder investigation. Failed, didn't solve it.
Right.
And so it touches on that as well. But in this particular issue, we now have this Italian mobster who's now a werewolf. And there's also the daughter of this moonshining clan has come to New York to seek out the head boss of this Italian mobster family, Joe Messina, Big Joe Messina, real character.
Right, yeah.
She's ingratiated herself to him to eventually seek revenge against him for going down and basically muscling her family, disrupting their whole family lifestyle. She wants to murder this man. So she's going to ingratiate herself.
Are there flashbacks in this?
There are flashbacks to speak of, yeah. Well, when this mobster turns into a werewolf at night, he has no memory of what he does. And one of the things it talks about in this in this particular issue is when he wakes up and he's hungry, he's relieved. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that. Yeah. He's like, I don't know what happens when I black out, but when I wake up and I'm hungry, I am relieved.
Right.
Well, in this issue, up until this point, there's not many people have seen the werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there's there's a serial killer running loose, savage, yada, yada, yada. In this issue, the werewolf is tearing through a crowd. Many policemen see him. Runs across, and as he's running through what appears to be Central Park, there's a homeless man he happens to cross path with, slashes this homeless man's throat, also runs across the female werewolf. She happens to be in the same area. So there's a scene in this comic where the homeless man falls to the ground, is bleeding out, and the last thing he sees are two werewolves copulating. That's the last image he has as he departs this world, is watching these two werewolves copulate.
We could all only be so lucky.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm like, oh my gosh. Look at this cover. I mean, the cover is amazing.
I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less, though. It's Eduardo
Risso's, his werewolf illustrations are just, I mean, the illustrations altogether are obviously great.
Yeah.
I can't wait for one giant-sized hardback collection of this book so I can get it and read it.
Something that he also does within this book, there's very little onomatopoeia in this book. Mm-hmm. He's not, there's gunfights, werewolves attacking, and he's not writing growl, snarl, snap, bang, bang. Your imagination fills those sounds out for you. And it makes it all a little bit more creepy and horror filled. I mean, but it's, there's car chases, guns going off, and he's just illustrating the bullets impacting the local, but he's not writing.
Yeah, there's no bang or pow or.
Eduardo Risso, he's good about that though. He one of his strengths, besides the fact that visually his work is gorgeous, is his work immerses the reader. Like it makes the reader plug those holes. And I think that makes you a part of the story, or like at least I think that's what it does. Like your connection to the book. That's like 100 Bullets. He used a little bit more of the onomatopoeia in that, but it really did make you feel like you're having to be part of this world. So
yeah, it's so well done. But it feels like something's about to really give, because now you've got two active werewolves in New York, a lot of eyewitnesses. People are actively on the hunt for this particular Italian mobster because he's so well ingratiated to these Appalachian moonshiners.
Right.
And there's problems. These moonshiners are not wanting to work for the Italians anymore. Really feels like things are coming to a head in this series. But the strength of this particular issue alone is why I wanted to mention it. Mm-hmm. And what really put it over the top is that scene. The scene where the copulating werewolves, the man's dying vision is watching that happen. It's like, that is just such a mind bender to me.
So as you're talking about this, and like I think I've said this on the show recently, I'm going through and watching The Sopranos. Mm-hmm. So as you're telling me about a mobster and werewolves, all I can see is Paulie like talking to a werewolf with his hands. It's like, you rat fuck.
Oh man, Paulie Walnuts.
Paulie and Siriano just talking shit to a werewolf. Can I get like a short of that? I need that in my life. I'm with Craig on this. I really want a hardcover of that. Like that would be on the shelf. Like, so
well, I think I've said it every time Matt's talked about this book. I got the first 6 issues, the first story arc, and then somehow got removed from the book. I guess there was a pause, and somehow it got taken off of it.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, in the middle of the series, I thought the series had ended.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden it just picked back up. Yeah. Right after, I think it was issue like 17 or something. They took a long break. It seemed like. But
anyways, I did read the first arc or two, and then it fell off. But I'm really interested to read this entire series.
Yeah, same. So sorry to disappoint fans and my brothers over here. The book I'm going to tell you about this week doesn't involve a werewolf. It does involve some type of something akin to lycanthropy.
I doubt it.
As far as people changing into things. But in this one, instead of people changing into a werewolf, they're prone to changing into large hulking green figures or giant red harpy monsters. And that book is none other than the Immortal Hulk, number 48. Something like a werewolf, right? Like there's a connectivity there.
That's Stan Lee originally said it's really just a werewolf story.
Kind of.
That's what he called it. That's what he called when he helped create the Hulk.
And see how I'm participating in this. Thank you, Matt.
Man, I'm trying
for acknowledging my effort.
I'm really trying.
As with so we are at issue 48 of this book. The creative team remains the same. It's Al Ewing, it's Joe Bennett, Jose Riso, Brabdo and Mounts do a lot of. Mounts does some gorgeous color work in this book, especially with the reds. I can't get enough of this book, and like all of the issues.
You're about to.
No, it's not going to be enough. It's just going to be all I can get. Yeah. So that doesn't mean it's enough. That's just it's all that's available. As with each issue of this book, it opens up with a quote from classic literature. And the quote is in this one, "And I dream of a grave deep and narrow where we could clasp each other in our arms as with iron bars. And I would hide my face in you, and you would hide your face in me, and no one would ever see us anymore." And that's Franz Kafka from The Castle. And as somebody who's like a classic literature nerd, like I love that these quotes, no matter what they're from, kind of put you in the mood for what the issue is going to pertain to. And this issue, as we're reaching the end, it's going to be 50 issues like Matt sadly alluded to, because I don't want this to end. This issue really illustrates just the breadth and the scope of the subject matter that Al Ewing is writing into these scripts, because at the end of the day, this issue is a love story. The issue walks you through some of the history of Bruce and the Hulk and Joe Fixit, their relationship and their ongoing love with Betty, and how that's affected them, the trauma that's been caused by that over the years, both from Bruce and the Hulk standpoint, but also from Betty. Like, imagine being Betty throughout this whole thing, and how just insane that would be. Well, the story opens up with a little 6-panel grid walking you through some of their highs and lows, and then it shows you the Hulk and Harpy in bed together, and they have just wrapped up doing some stuff. The Hulk is buttoning his pants, and the Harpy is snuggled up right next to him, and she's the Hulk's like, "What are we doing?" And she's just like, "Shh."
Oh man, I bet that was so hot.
Oh, just feathers everywhere. And she's telling him not to make so much noise, and they're kind of having this. It's pillow talk, right? They're this post-coital conversation with these two people who have such a deep history together, and more than just sex, like an entire lifetime of emotional attachment and heartbreak. And they're trying to figure out where they're at in life. And the thing you have to remember is this is not Bruce Banner. This is Joe Fixit. He's the one who's driving the bus, so to speak, in this. And Joe Fixit is the one that ran away. He's the one who, he hid in Vegas. He left Betty by herself to deal with whatever, and just couldn't face her. And that's what really this is explored in this whole issue. Them having this kind of conversation about who, if in fact there is this multi-personality aspect, which there is to the Hulk, and there's all of these beings inside there that's attached to the Gamma, your Devil Hulk and everything else. Who is actually in love with Betty? And what relationship does she have, or that does she have to have with each of them, and how much can she be invested? And as they're having this conversation, this pillow talk in the next room, you've got Jennifer Walters, She-Hulk, chilling out on the couch with this reporter who's been in and out of the whole story, and they're kind of having a conversation about who they are. Like, there's this whole thread that pulls through about who we are as people, what drives us, what makes us who we are. The reporter, she's not currently working for any Daily Bugle cut her off. But she's still a journalist. Like, she's got to get this story. Jennifer's just had this recent bout with what makes her a Hulk, like where she stands, what drives her, who she is. And so in each of these rooms, there's a different conversation with very similar subject matter happening. And by the end of it, you see the Hulk, Joe Fixit and Betty come to an impasse where Joe, the Hulk, really bears his soul to Betty and is like, look, it's not like all of us are in love with you and all of us are in this relationship with you, and I couldn't be the person that you wanted me to be, but it's not because I don't love you. I'm working through that now. But she's just like, not the too little, too late. Like I got to go process this. So she bolts, and just walks out the door, which, the Hulk walks in, to the next room and says, hey, Betty took off, and She-Hulk, Jennifer's just like, Hulk not surprised. no one is shocked by this. But while they were having this conversation, you got to remember that they're on the run, right? Like they are on the run from all of these people, the Gamma Corps that are chasing them down, or that had been chasing them down. The Avengers are trying to figure out what's going on. You got to remember, She-Hulk, Jennifer, just betrayed the Avengers, quote unquote betrayed, to help her cousin out, to kind of get him back. But she knows that they're being hunted. She knows that they're being looked for. So she, like, low key on the sly, sends a text message to her former Fantastic Four, her FF teammate, The Thing. Just like, hey, I've got this covered. We're safe. I'm working this. Don't do anything. Let me work this. To which, The Thing turns around to the people that he's in the room with and lets them know what the text message pertained to, and just says, hey, should we let her know that we're also waiting on the next step? And it's the Avengers. It's the Fantastic Four. It's the heavy hitters that are all getting ready to clash. And it's going to be a hell of a clash when they finally meet. And we've got 2 issues to go. I cannot wait to see this, because the last time
Thor is going to get thumped again.
Oh, I
love it.
Nothing makes me feel better than when the Hulk just beats the shit out of Thor.
I don't want him to beat the shit out of Thor. It's just when he lands that one good punch.
Sweet spot. Yeah.
It's just, that's good stuff.
The last time that we saw Hulk and the Avengers go toe-to-toe, I forget, I know it's happened in this book, but also it touched on it in the Avengers. Both of those were good issues. God knows we could use some more good issues in the Avengers run right now. So I hope that they loop back into it. But this book has steadily been on our best of lists for the last several years running. So sad to see this end, and we haven't spoken about it on the show just in a while. We'll mention our short stacks just because we know we love it. But I thought as we're coming to a close, over the next 3 or 4 months, I don't know if they're going to come out each month, but we're getting close. Bring this back to the forefront, talk about it, check you guys, see how you guys are feeling about it, and really just like I said, I need people to appreciate exactly what Al Ewing is doing, like the vast scope and the just insanely psychologically deep things that he's playing with in a Marvel Hulk story is outstanding. My life goal is to shake this man's hand at this point. I love what he's done with the character.
Well, yeah, I think it's bittersweet. I do want to see how the story ends, and I think 50 is a good number to end the story. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's been very impressive how great this run has been. I mean, every issue is great, and I just can't remember the last time I read a 50-issue run, right, where I didn't have to make excuses for a bad arc.
There's no hiccup.
It's so good. It's crazy how everything comes together, and I mean, I really do feel like it's a 50-50 effort between writing and the art team. Mm-hmm. I think without that art team, it'd be half as good, still great actually, but the combination of the writing and the art team is what puts it way over the top. And I
agree.
I still think it's got to be arguably the best book that Marvel has had on the shelf ever since.
Oh, yeah.
For 4 years now.
Yeah. At least. And it's the best Hulk book that we've gotten in over a decade.
Oh, gosh. So long. Yeah.
So, is issue 50 going to be Hulk and Harpy getting married on top of a building, but Harpy doesn't show up?
You know what, Craig?
Why you got to bring up bad shit?
God, just freaking wet blanket over here.
I'm just curious if that's where they're going with this.
Joe Bennett, his ability to draw the grotesque is outstanding, and because that's what so. And I'm glad that they gave us the Hulk. Like, I'm glad that you gave us these really exaggerated in the hellscapes and everything to really steep me into Joe Bennett's art and to get an understanding of his visual language and stuff. Because I will say, as far as the way he draws just your average person, like if you look at some of the faces of the people in the backgrounds, they're kind of lumpy. Like they're kind of the way that he draws Jennifer Walters when she's just herself, not necessarily that impressive as.
I completely disagree.
That's fine. Like they're. I'm glad I got to understand a visual language of him first, because I don't necessarily like the way that he draws people, but the way that he draws people in juxtaposition to the world that he's showing us, to the lens that he shows us, it works so well. It is truly stunning. And look, I keep saying it, as much as you have to like give credit to him for actually doing the pencils down, Rui Jose and Brabdo as inkers. Like, I really hope they win some awards. Like, I know that, quality is not judged on how many. You shouldn't judge that whether you get a gold medal for it or not. But, like, somebody who loves, like Mark Morales, like, I love inking. Belladonna Bravo and Rui Jose are working their ass off. They are doing so much to really lay down these lines and to bring so much, like, to draw so much out of Joe Bennett's work that. Like, God, they're some of the best ones in the business right now. Like, they have to be, as far as inkers go. And inkers don't get near enough credit for the amount of work they do. What they're able to draw out of these pages, it's stunning. Like, just kick ass. Like, I'm gonna need them all to like do another book together soon.
This whole series it's interesting when you talk to somebody that's not reading it. My first response is like, what? He's like, what?
Why?
Yeah.
I figure that most people that aren't reading it are people that are not steeped in superhero comics. Mm-hmm. They read other forms of comics, or they've just never been a Hulk fan and they found out about this book too late.
Well, so we have a really good friend and a guy who listens to the show that just started reading these in trades. It's Craig's cousin, one of our favorite folks in the world, who just started reading this, and we were texting with him yesterday, and he was like, that some of this it's excellent, but I'm a little bit lost. Like I can't like in all honesty, and I hope Chris doesn't mind if I say this on the show, but he's like, some of it I just don't know, and I think it's because you kind of do have to know some of the lore. And what we were talking about is like, is there because he was saying it's the personalities that have kind of
I can see that.
It's hard, yeah. And so what we were talking about is like each of the personalities is presented as a different writer. It's the way that a different writer took over and wrote the Hulk at any given time that Ewing is now going through and threading and playing into the idea of multiple personality disorder.
Comics are doing more and more now, where you have these characters that have different pasts, different threads, different stories, and they're trying to lump them into one cohesive storyline so that going forward you don't have to go explain it. If somebody says, well, why is Hulk this way all of a sudden? Well, go read Immortal Hulk. It'll explain that these different personalities all exist within this creature.
And it can be done very badly. But the way Al Ewing is doing it, genius. The most recent series besides Immortal Hulk that's done it has been the Hawkman series from the past couple of years. Phenomenal job of lacing together what has for a long time been a very muddied continuity and putting it together. Like those two, like in a cohesive fashion, pulling together like all of this history. Those two stories have done it probably the best that I've seen it done. And it's just wonderful. So if you haven't been on Immortal Hulk, you got to remedy that. Go pick up the trades.
Chris did say, I didn't understand it, but I've ordered up through volume 9.
He loved it. So. Yeah. And this is another book, kind of like Moonshine. I cannot wait to have just a big tome.
I imagine we'll get that
slapped on. Yeah, they better.
Yeah.
I'll fight.
Oh man, yeah.
I'll fight
Immortal
somebody.
Hulk omnibus. That's got the
it's done way
collected,
too. It's for the long time it was their number one selling book. I don't know if it still is, but it was for a long time. So there's no doubt they'll have collections.
I hope they give it the absolute treatment. Like I want to see back matter. I want to see I want to see people who have like I would love it if they went to like Busiek or Peter David, people who have written the Hulk before and had them write things about what this means or their interpretation of it.
Yeah,
that would be amazing. Also, Marvel should just hire me for my ideas.
Obviously.
And you and us. They should just hire us.
I mean,
and we'll be their idea factory. So, 2 more issues, guys. Are we going to hold? Or can we read the last issue together? Can we like time it to where we like sit on beanbags and all experience it like at the same time?
Oh man, that would murder my back.
Or chairs. Is it the beanbag or like just having read comics with us that would hurt your back?
I love how Matt takes it literally. No, I can't do a beanbag. I'm sorry. Reading at the exact same time. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Beanbag? No, that's crossing the line.
Synchronize our watches, guys.
Yeah.
I want to experience this with you guys because it's been a hell of a journey. So,
well, the funny thing is I read that book I believe last week, and then this week I was going through my stack, and I don't know if I just didn't put it away or if I somehow got a second issue, and I'm like, oh, another Immortal Hulk, and I opened it up. I'm like, wait, I already read this, damn it.
See, I've read it 3 times. I've just read.
We established last week that I'm only reading a book
with a book like this. Oh, it's so good. I cannot wait to do a cohesive reread. Anyway, so I love this book. Obviously, you guys love this book, and I really hope everyone else does. And congratulations, for what little my congratulatory words mean to the world.
I'm sure they were waiting on us to congratulate them on how good of a job they did.
I hope look,
Al Ewing's life is now complete. Southern Fried Geekery has congratulated him on
a voice
job
comes.
well done.
A voice comes from another room. Hey Al, some dude from Arkansas said you did good. K.
From where?
What's in Arkansas? Anyway, so well, all right. We got anything else, guys? How you feel?
How do you feel, Greg?
I feel wonderful. What are we
I'm inviting you to lay on the couch. Tell me your feelings.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to cover?
New books.
We got new books coming out next week.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So what are y'all picking up this next week?
I'm going to pick up Proctor Valley Road #5 from Boom Studios. Alex Child and Naomi Franquiz. This is the final book in the series. You guys have heard me talk about it before. It's about some teenage girls that get in too deep when they start selling tickets to tour Proctor Valley Road, which is a haunted road in Chula Vista, California, which I need to do some research and find out if there is actually a legend to Proctor Valley Road, if there's a legend of a horror, You know how some of these different cities have these like urban legends. So anyways, this will be the finale, and we will find out if the girls live or die.
Ooh.
If
I guess you want them to die, based on what we learned earlier in the show.
I'm 50-50. I am the guy that watches...
How benevolent of you.
I'm the guy that watches the horror movies, and I'm like, most of the time I'm rooting for the serial killer, because... most of the time, the people are pathetic in those movies.
Just to clarify, when Craig says he's 50-50, he actually wants 50% of the girls to die. Yeah. Like, he's not. It needs to be. It can't be all or nothing. Like, half of them need to go away.
I guess you caught him in the right mood then.
Yeah,
only 50.
I'm good either way. However, as long as the story's compelling, I'm good.
There you go.
It's more compelling when they're dead. When the teenagers die.
Yeah. I'm gonna make Craig a T-shirt that says it's more compelling when they're dead.
I bet he already has several. So, what everybody's going to pick up is from Marvel, Moon Knight #1.
Yeah.
Big facts. Big facts.
Jed McKay, Alessandro Cappuccio, and Steve McNiven are on this one. I'm stoked about this. Reading the description of the series, kind of sounds like they're going to focus on his, quote, original mission, which is protecting those that travel by night.
It's obviously killing Werewolf by Night.
Obviously.
Better be.
But probably not enough children, Craig. Sorry. It's not really his jam.
Is that our roundtable for next week?
I think it is.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
I think it needs to be.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be.
Right.
There was only one book in my brain that was any competition to Moon Knight #1. And that book comes from the creative team of Dan Jurgens, Ryan Sook, Rob Lee, and a couple other folks who really dipped their hand in it. And that is Blue and Gold #1. It's one of 8. It's a limited series, and this is a Booster Gold and Blue Beetle team up book. And I think that as a duo,
God love DC. I hope they pull it off.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got Dan Jurgens doing it, so I feel like they're going.
They do have the right team on it.
And I love Ryan Sook's art, man. Like it's gorgeous. The pitch on this is the application denied. Desperate to regain the spotlight, Booster Gold looking to attract the public attention, jumps up and does what any second-rate washed-up hero would do. He gets on social media. The not-so-tech-savvy hero from the 25th century enlists the help of his best friend, the Blue Beetle, who possesses both the money and the brains to help out his old pal. I love these stories where these two are together. I'm not the world's biggest Booster Gold fan, but I like it when Booster and Blue Beetle are paired. So
the one time I really loved Booster Gold was during 52.
Mm-hmm.
That was, to me, the most compelling Booster Gold story. Yeah. But, you know, it's a compelling character if he's done right.
Right. Yeah, that's why I'm excited about the book.
Yeah. I mean, Jurgens on it is a good start.
Yeah, Dan Jurgens, his name with me carries a lot of comfort. So, like, I'm like, okay, I expect. I
wish he would have never been taken off of Superman. Wait, did I?
That's fair. I he was crushing it at the time. So, well, all right, we got anything else we need to cover, boys?
We covered it all.
All right. Well, if that's the case, and maybe we didn't, right? Maybe we missed something.
No.
Who can say? I mean, you can, but if you think we missed something, if you are incorrect in your assessment, but you want to plead your case, you can do so. You can find us on social media. We're on Facebook. All you got to do is type in Southern Fried Geekery Podcast, and we'll pop up. You can join the group, jump in the conversation. We would love to have you. We would love more conversations. For those of you listening who are part of that group, tell us what you're reading. Start posts, start a conversation, get in there and you know, like meet people, build a community. It's great. You can also see some things that we're reading and enjoying on Twitter and Instagram. We're at SFG on both, at SFG Podcast on both of those things. Check us out, give us a like and follow. Comment on what we're posting. Again, conversations. It's what makes the world go round, especially in geek culture. And if you aren't on social media, or you're a person who maybe is doing your own thing and you want to let us know about it, you can shoot us off an email. We're southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. Real easy, real simple. Just reach out. I guess previews of things to come. Mr. Matt Trognon will not be with us next week. Sad day. So we've got a buddy. We got a buddy who's going to come on and talk about a recent Kickstarter thing that they're going to do. So just let you know about that. And we hope you are jump in to listen and support it. If it's still support, I'm not sure when the cutoff date for his Kickstarter is.
I jumped on it last week. So as of last week, it was still available.
Yeah, and I funded it last week as well. So come back next week. And in the meantime, go read some Immortal Hulk and go forth and love comics.
And Caleb and I want the children to live and thrive.
Do we? I'm the one who was complaining that the kid's name was Chucky or whatever.
Dougie.
Dougie. Oh, Dougie.